What's up everyone, and welcome to another video where today I'm breaking down my top list of ingredients that I use to make pizza. I'm gonna go over the sauce, the cheese, and don't forget to wait until the end where I'm gonna show you my list of flours that you should use, including which flour has more strength and why you should use them. I'm gonna provide you with all my go-to brands and why I like them. So now let's jump right in. Let's talk pizza sauce. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk about two styles of pizza, New York and Neapolitan. Also, for both of these styles, I recommend using canned tomatoes for your sauce. When I'm making a classic New York style pizza, I want the sauce to be thick, slightly sweet, and mild. Now, crushed tomatoes are perfect here. Some of my top picks are Bianco di Napoli crushed tomatoes. These have a mild tomato flavor and happen to be super balanced. The texture is thick with a more uniform puree with only some seeds inside. Now, multi polpa happens to be a recent favorite of mine for New York style pizza, mainly for its nice sweetness and the consistency. Its texture is like a finely chopped puree with all of the skin, seeds, and pulp inside. The overall flavor is sweet umami with a bright, fresh finish. Now, passata style tomatoes are easy to find at any grocery store and are usually affordable. Passata in Italian means past, where all of the seeds and skin are removed, where it's only pulp that is blended. Now this yields a flavor that is really balanced and mild. It's a go-to for me. Finally, you can always strain a can of San Marzano style tomatoes if you want a more rich, umami flavored tomato sauce. The thickness is up to you. You can hand crush it or even lightly blend it for a thick puree. As for Neapolitan style pizza, it's different. In Naples, things are more traditional, where you need a flavor that is gonna pair well with a milky style mozzarella. Whole peeled tomatoes or San Marzano tomatoes are king for this category. My favorites happen to be Cento San Marzano organic tomatoes. Now these are DOP certified for a bright and slightly tangy choice. The flavor of these tomatoes alone bring me back to Naples when I first had pizza at Da Michele. These tomatoes are a must try. If you are a true Neapolitan pizza lover, this is pretty good to start. If not, Cento even makes a normal San Marzano tomato that is not organic. Next up that I've seen in grocery stores, there are Flora and Rega San Marzano tomatoes are also found in grocery stores that fall under the DOP certified tomato. You can never go wrong with these San Marzano style tomatoes for a Neapolitan pizza. Now, Bianco di Napoli makes a peeled tomatoes that are great and affordable. It's actually less money than all of the other tomatoes that are stated here. However, for me, it misses a slight umami from the tomatoes that are grown over in Italy. Also in Whole Foods, I found Organico Bello peeled tomatoes, which have that bright acidity like the organic Cento. If you find this, try it out. I think you'll like it. All right, now let's talk cheese. The cheese on a New York style pizza has to melt and stretch perfectly without releasing too much water, and also it cannot brown too quickly. That's why for me, I go with a low moisture mozzarella, and a couple of my best options happen to be Galbani Classic Stretch and Melt or a Grande shredded mozzarella. Pizzerias in New York usually use Grande. However, Galbani is a brand that you can find in grocery stores lately, and it's been really nice using it. Next up, any low moisture mozzarella block that you can get your hands on in a grocery store, whether it be in the deli section from Boar's Head or all the way in the dairy section in the refrigerators. Now these low moisture mozzarella blocks, you wanna coarsely grate them in a box grater. Sometimes I like to blend this low moisture mozzarella with the whole milk mozzarella to create a greater cheese pool. This allows your pizza to bake longer in the oven without getting too brown on top. Now, for Neapolitan style pizza, you need a whole milk mozzarella. My top picks are any of those whole milk mozzarella balls that are vacuum sealed and individually portioned. Now, disclaimer, most packaged and processed mozzarella here in the US or anywhere is not made for flavor. I mostly look for a cheese that's gonna melt and brown nicely. However, for those single portion whole milk mozzarella balls, they are perfect for making 1.5 to even 2 10 to 12 inch individual Neapolitan style pizzas. If you cut it up nice and coarse, they're gonna melt nice and milky white. Also, unlike a fresh mozzarella ball, you don't need to dry these individual portion mozzarella balls at all. They tend to come dry already. Now next up, and one of my favorites, is Galbani whole milk mozzarella. This is almost on the top of the list because of how it melts. It's milky white with a nice stretch to it, and also it browns ever so slightly, which gives a nice rustic aesthetic to my Neapolitan style pizzas. And finally, I started out making pizza using Polio, which is an affordable cheese that you can find in a grocery store. It's super reliable. The flavor is quite good, as well as the melting qualities. It melts super creamy, and it also browns a little bit. Finally, let's talk flour. Now for a New York style pizza, you need a flour with strength to give your dough a nice chew, just like the authentic pizza. Let's start with King Arthur bread flour. It's a go-to, especially with beginner bakers, because it provides extra protein for a stronger dough with that classic New York style chew. Next happens to be King Arthur's all-purpose flour. This is an amazing flour that produces extremely light baked products. I mean, this flour is versatile, hands down one of my favorites, because you could change it and use it in any recipe, whether it be from muffins to pan pizza to Neapolitan. It's really, really good. Now next up happens to be a stronger flour. If you are tending to increase your hydration or extend your fermentation times, you'll need to source a Manitoba or a Tipo Zero flour. First off, these flours contain a higher W content to produce a more extensible dough. I often use these flours in smaller increments, around 30 to 40% of the total flour's weight in any recipe. For Neapolitan style pizza, they have a lot of strict standards in Naples, and there's usually one flour associated when making this style of pizza. Tipo 00 flour happens to be the go-to. And my favorite brands happen to be Caputo, Cinque Stagioni, Casillo, and Poselli. However, the most iconic flour of them all is Caputo. It always brings the flavor of Naples into your pizza no matter where you are in the world. Any of these flours I listed are best to start out when making Neapolitan style pizza. Now, if you don't know, 00 is the finest grind of Italian milled flour with an average protein content around 11 to 12%. This flour is suitable for pizza making for a stronger dough, gluten structure, and extensibility. However, when you dive deep into pizza making and Neapolitan style pizza, you might find about Tipo 0 flour, which I feel is a flour that is surfacing more and more in the pizza game because of its strength. It provides a nice rise in any dough's crust, allows for a longer fermentation time, and these flours are usually more expensive and hard to come around. However, you can easily upgrade your pizza making game by blending 30 to 40% of Tipo 0 with 00 flour in any pizza recipe. Try it out yourself. And yes, King Arthur bread flour and all-purpose flour work for a Neapolitan style pizza. Just blend them 50-50 equally to make a really good quality pizza. So that's my full list of ingredients that I would use for pizza making, from the sauce to the cheese to the flour. If you're trying to step up your pizza making game, starting with the right ingredients makes a huge difference. And so I hope you learned something from this video. I enjoyed making it for you all, and I will see you in the next one.